Okay, so we're now recording. We're gonna call the hearing to order. This is a hearing to discuss the latest draft of the town plan that's been forwarded from the planning commission to the select board. It's 6:15 on Monday, March 11th. So tonight the goal is to take feedback and public comment on the latest draft of the town plan. Based on the feedback that we get and discussion on the board will make no and or a series of edits to the plan, which will then be finalized. If the edits are not substantial in nature, we could make those edits tonight and adopt the plan and approve it. If they are textual edits that need a little bit more wordsmithing, but they're not substantial in nature, we could make those textual edits and approve the final draft at our next select board meeting, which will be next coming Monday. If the changes are substantial in nature and they need more time to do text edits and or digest, we will warn another hearing to review those and then approve the final draft of the plan. My hope tonight isn't to do wordsmithing by committee, because that just takes forever and it's annoying. But rather get the feedback so the board can kind of make an informed decision as to, is the draft good to go? Does the draft need more work? And if so, where is that work? We don't have a massive crowd in attendance here tonight, so my hope is to give everybody a chance to speak, say what's on their mind, point out any edits or things that they've got in the plan they want to address, and then once everyone's had a chance to speak, board members can confer and kind of say, hey, what do you want to do? Do you want to adopt this? Do you want to make some more edits? What's the next step? Just to clarify, Emily Kimball is on Zoom, and so with her and myself and Leanne, we do have a quorum here. Mark might be joining by Zoom once he's out of the barn. Not sure what's going on with Suzanne, but she might have hit trouble with the roads coming home from work. So with that, I will give, if there's a representative from the planning commission that does just want to say a few words about what the work you guys did and what you put forward and anything that you want to highlight. I assume all of the edits the planning commission has are in the draft, so we don't need to review them unless you've got some. But if you wanted to kind of kick it off with any kind of, here's how we got here, here's what we did, and tee up the conversation, you're welcome to do that now.
Joe, you want to give an overview? I would like to address some specific elements of the plan that have been bantered back and forth.
Okay, we've been working on this for months, and Emily from regional planning has been a significant help. Overall, the town plan that we've revised is not significantly altered. In some ways, we work more on compression. We try to get rid of some deadwood repetitions. We have I think some of the bigger textual changes have to do with just definitions of entities in
Can we just do one quick pause? Yeah. So some of the folks on Zoom are having a really hard time hearing. Is that mic on the camera is the one that's picking up the room, right? The only one?
And you can kind of hear them on the other ones too.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there's... is it possible to take one of these and kind of just walk it over?
If it's long enough,
Yeah. If I put that right there, and Joe, if you speak.
Okay, is that any better?
Emily, is that better?
Sound check. Is that any better or is it worse?
If he starts again, I'll let you know.
Okay, he was speaking, so Joe. No, say something.
Okay, I was saying that some of the significant verbal changes in the town plan have to do with just descriptions of things that have changed since 7 years ago. I don't think they're mainly just getting some details straight. They're not really hugely significant, and we have.
Hey Joe, can you pick up? Just hold it right in front of you. I don't know why it's not.
Hello. Who's
Emily.
Emily? Can you hear Emily?
She can hear us clearly, but can't hear you at all.
Can't hear you.
We're sure those mics are, like, these are plugged in. Is that one plugged in, do we know?
Yeah, I'm getting the sound perfectly.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is.
Can Joe come up to the table, Charlie, while he's presenting and
Sure.
pass him
Why don't we do that?
whatever
Well,
if
when
it's like
somebody's-
Harley, that might work.
Okay, let's do that. How about that? If someone's gonna be talking, why don't you come up? You can sit right here and we'll
Okay, so let me go up there.
see if that'll work. Please, take the witness stand.
Okay, let's try this again. We're talking about some of the significant changes that we've made have to do with descriptions of different entities in town that have changed since seven years ago. They don't seem to have been any big change, even lengthwise, and that is that we have enough space to take out the old and put out the new. Contextual things that are relatively expanded, or at least we've changed our attitude on them, have to do with housing situations, which we're all familiar with in town, are significant both in short-term rentals and in long-term rentals, and in housing stock itself. We've basically tried, as I mentioned, to compact a lot of the text that really needed to be thinned down. So we ended up with a refreshed town plan, but it's in some ways smaller. And as I said, Emily was a huge help from regional planning. One of the interesting things about the town plan this year is, and I have it in this copy, and you can see it if you go online, is the data input that we have from regional planning on all kinds of things, including where our rich soils are, which interestingly enough are in the village and the center, have probably the best growing soils of any of the parts of Montgomery Village and Montgomery Center, which somewhat is an interesting conflict because we have a need to add housing and stuff, and are we going to add it on maybe the best soils we have? It's an interesting reality. But otherwise, the overall, things, and then the one other thing, obviously, we've been, had to get some more definitions are the whole flood realities, floodplains, what we're waiting still for. FEMA is supposed to be giving us the latest data on where our floodplains are in both the center and the village, which has significant impact on us. We are concerned as well about having some final some resolution of the septic situation, and maybe even getting the traffic control thing again that the town's working on. But overall, I think I'll pass it along to my colleague here. If there's anything else you want to add on if we've had significant changes that I haven't brought up.
Well,
And that's also fine for kind of like table setting. I was thinking more about like process, what you guys did, but I think what you kind of painted a great picture to start us off with. So
I'll give it to,
well, yeah. So
that's fine.
you want to come up with some details?
Yes, I do.
okay, so we'll turn it over to Peter Locker, also a member of the Planning Commission.
After putting up a 99-page redraft of the town plan, it seemed that the most comment on social media garnered was on the housing issue, specifically short-term rental.
Okay.
So that has been kind of the elephant in the room.
Can we pause for 1 second? It looks like we just lost video. It's back now, so maybe there was a connection thing. So, okay. Okay. Sorry, Peter. Go ahead.
So back in 2022, we spent quite a bit of time trying to quantify and qualify the issues around short-term housing. At that time, there were a variety of counts on how much short-term rentals there were. And at the time, we had came to the select board and offered the 3 different counts. They were all substantial, but Charlie, I think you had asked for an Air DNA tally and offered to get us a subscription, which was appreciated. I was able to access it without a subscription. And at the same time, Daniel Kahn had asked me to quantify it with some data. So intuitively, a lot of us felt that the short-term rental market was consuming our housing stock to a disproportionate degree. So how do I quantify this? What I did was, my methodology, if you will, was to go to the grand list of 960 some odd properties in 2023, cull out land, commercial lots, government buildings, anything that wouldn't be used for rental, short-term or long-term. So from the 966, I got down to 784, because there was quite a bit of land. So I used that as a base of our available housing stock, and then went to the Air DNA data to see how many listings there actually were in town as a percentage of that housing stock. And I took it over a 3-year window, a 1-year window, and recent months. And in the very best case, the STR market was consuming 10% of our available housing stock.
Okay.
And it went up to a little over 13%. That, I don't know if it's good or bad, but it's good to know, and it would be something quantifiable through a registry. But more to the point, to my thinking, was that when there is a shortage of housing, affordable housing in town, and there are examples all over. I have one sitting here who's been looking for a long time, and there are others, several others just like her, who can't seem to grab the market before the investor does. Of all of those listings, and they range from 118 down to a low of 76 listings, the average occupancy is well below 50%. So they're sitting empty more than half the time.
And just to clarify, was there a way that you could tease apart properties that are strictly investor owned, all like straight up, all it is a short-term rental, versus a seasonal home which also rents as an Airbnb, versus a resident who is renting something as an Airbnb at the property?
Okay, yes, I think there is, because AirDNA delineates the short-term rental activity by number of nights, which would be one way of doing it. It's not exact, but if someone's renting it 181 days or more, it's probably an investment, given the occupancy rates. Just as a sidebar, when we first started all this, we were concerned about short-term rentals as a total, which range from a widow renting a room in her house to defray expense, to someone renting a full house, to multiple properties. And since that time, my thinking has evolved, because really the focus is on our housing stock, and that had nothing to do with our housing stock. These people renting a room were living there anyway. Our focus, or at least my focus, became what's taking away from our housing stock. And this was surely taking away a disproportionate amount as a percentage, and in exchange for a below acceptable occupancy rate, to the detriment of our community at large. I appreciate that we need to address the business community, but we should also be addressing the community at large
Okay.
with priority. So, how to remedy? And that's something still open for debate, but I think given those occupancy rates, it's a saturated market right now, and we need to study it, which we can't do without a registry, and agree on what is an acceptable level of housing stock devoted to tourism or short-term rental. And, it would be a percentage. I think 13% high, 10% high, because at both of those, occupancy is still below 50%. And maybe it's 5%. We don't know, because it's hard to gauge without knowing all the players. There are other issues important to the town around this issue, commercial water rates and things like that, that they should be paying if they're a commercial business, and it is a commercial business if they're collecting money. But I believe that my work quantifies it. There were a lot of homes sold in the last 3 years, 120 or so, and the growth of short-term rentals kind of coincided with that, but I can't attribute it to that. But of all those homes sold, nearly half of them were below $250,000, which is a reasonable entry point for a starter home.
Okay.
So for that reason, I would ask that the select board keep the word discourage, because I certainly wouldn't encourage additional STRs in a saturated market. I would discourage it until we have a better handle on it. And I was grateful that out of 99 pages, it came down to one word. But
Amazing how that'll happen, right?
not too bad. So that's it. That's kind of in a nutshell, and this is all, documented, and you can all go and have a look at it.
Yep.
And see that this is kind of the crux of the issue. They're occupying a lot of our stock.
Yeah.
It's half used, and there are people in the wings waiting for a home in the town they grew up in, or may want to raise their own kids in, the community at large.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
And do you have the list, Peter, of the other small changes that we had, or will you email that?
there are some over the course of since our hearing January 2nd.
Okay. Are these like minor textual things, like?
Well, like Rolf wanted to amend his
Okay,
description.
adding a community group, checking a road.
Yeah, Sarah
Okay.
wanted to add a
I think
group.
I think I have those. I would not consider those to be substantive changes.
But
No.
you have a
I
copy.
do have a copy of what you
Friends
sent
of the
here.
library for volunteer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do have a copy of those.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Peter.
Very welcome.
Thank you.
So I'm just going to go down the list that we've got here. It does look like we keep, maybe just the connection's just weak on the camera, but it's fine now. It's good, but it's weird. It seems like it keeps coming in and out, but I think they can still hear us. That's what counts. So I'm just going to go down the list, and if you'd like to speak, come on up, and we'll give you 5+ minutes, and then once everyone's spoken, we can go back for people who want seconds. So Alyssa, do you?
And I guess I'm here if I could help answer any questions of why we made something, but
Okay.
I don't have anything to add right now.
Okay, thanks, Alyssa. Kim, anything?
No, nothing to add, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Kim. And then, is it Jordan?
John.
John. Okay, John. Sorry, John. Okay.
No, I'm all good.
All right, thanks, John. Jen,
Well, I know Peter.
if you do want to talk, just make sure you come up, and that way we can catch you on the mics.
So I know Peter and Alyssa kind of asked me to be here tonight, but, you know, a lot of people know who I am. I'm born and raised local, at least fourth generation, if not more. I am somebody who's grown up here and is at that point with the short-term rental issue at hand, finding it very hard to even stay in the town that I grew up in. It's gotten to that point where it's so hard to find long-term rentals or even a house to buy in my own hometown, and it's frustrating as a local. Frustrating to grow up here and know that I'm essentially in a way getting pushed out because of Airbnb rentals, short-term rentals. Yes, Montgomery is a town that thrives on ski resorts and out-of-staters. But you're getting those out-of-staters moving up here, buying second homes, renting them out for Airbnbs. I love using the example of Airbnbs. It can be a good thing if it's used right. And I know some people that have homes that have rented out half of their house and live in the other half and use it to supplement their income. But it's those, for example, those out-of-staters that come up here and just aren't here and rent it out. And it's, you know, people like myself that can't find housing. And I commute back and forth to Morrisville, and I have to stay where I'm at because it's the only affordable housing that there is. And I'm on Main Street in an apartment building. Rent is $800 a month, and that is the cheapest rent around. So if there's, and I went for a walk one morning a couple weeks ago, and I was coming up Main Street, and within probably from here to where the fire trucks are, I counted 5 Airbnb rentals.
Like based on the plates, you mean, or something, or
With
like?
the location, there's at least 5 Airbnb rentals, and that wasn't even within a quarter mile. So guaranteed, that was probably my guess, at least half of what there was on Main Street. There should be more options for people that want to live here long term and local. This town, being a ski resort town, needs locals. So I think that's all I got.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to come out and talk about that.
Thanks.
Especially because I know it's hard.
It is.
So I really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Emily, did you have anything you wanted to throw in?
Nope, I'm just here for questions.
All right.
I'm here till 7, so if anyone has pressing questions about like process, let me know.
Awesome. Carol and or Pat. And you can both speak too. I don't want to make it a choice between you, but we'll take Carol first and then Pat can come up.
No, I only came to speak in support of the plan as it's written. I think they did an unbelievable job of all the data and capturing the vision that I think the majority of us have for the town. I've gone to early meetings when they were asking for vision, and I think they did a great job. As far as the short-term rental part goes, I think it's got to be in there, written, that it's not a priority. It can't be here. And if it's in the plan, then the DRB can address it with zoning regulations and or ordinances, and we can start moving in a direction we have to move in order to get a handle on it. I'm all for having people have an apartment in their house that they rent out, but if there's any way we can try to strongly discourage investors totally who come here to buy property to rent it on a short-term basis. I mean, that's just not, that's beyond the second home rule. And we know that's happened, you know, right on Main Street. Investor purchases that, and it may not be what people consider a huge problem right now. It's already a huge problem, as does Jen, but you know, if we don't address it, it's only gonna get worse. It's only gonna get worse. I mean, as more and more towns are putting in restrictions, people are gonna be looking for the places that have no restrictions. And so I think we have to address it for sure. And that's, the only other thing I had was that you already talked about maybe the appendix, the listing.
Yep.
The Friends of the Library, the MCA, who are a 501c3 organization. You know, they're interested in preservation of the building.
Yep, we'll make sure they're on the,
And then the garden club was listed, but they're not active anymore, so they probably could come out.
okay,
Yeah, because they
Sure.
dissolved,
check garden club.
so.
They did dissolve completely. Oh, the garden club, not the community gardens, the garden club.
Right, the garden
Gotcha.
club, yeah, but that was in
And your other thing you found was on page 40, was it's a,
oh.
we have it listed as a K through 6 school, and I think
Oh.
it's pre-K through 8 now.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, I didn't write that one down, I thought you would.
Charlie, can you repeat what Alyssa just said?
yep, so the one, additional clarification was that on page 40 of the plan, it currently reads, as I understand it, K through 8, and it's
K through 6. is
K
what it
through
reads.
6, and it's actually pre-K through 8th. And that's at the school, so that's just a clarification of the grades at the school.
Thanks.
And so we'll add that to the list of
Yeah, no,
textual
I
changes.
thought maybe it wasn't on the last email sent to
Yep.
you.
Awesome, well, thanks, Carol. Pat, did you want to come up?
I only have a brief comment on the garden club, that yes, it has dissolved. You can check with Marcia Phillips, she was the last president. What she has done with their finances is to have the Friends of the Library be custodian, because we're a 501c3 and she had to give it to a nonprofit.
Okay,
So we are paying the expense of the flower barrels each year
okay,
until we run out of money.
okay. Great, thank you for the clarification. Jimbo?
I have more than 5 minutes of stuff, but I'll try to.
That's fine, we'll try to move through it. efficiently.
Well, no, it would be inconsiderate.
I mean, so, and I will say, if there are like textual things, then by all means, please email those if you want to. If there's more substantive things, then let's discuss them. Yep.
I'll start with the STR stuff, like, particularly just like when I moved here, like, and I try to remind people, I was like, if I got it, there's hope, because I was like the dumbest of the dumb of people who, like, this is a hard place to live. And you need a set of skills, and like I did not have them, and like I got backhoe stuck in the road, and the town clerk was trying to get to work, and like she couldn't because my backhoe, which I didn't know how to run, was in the road, and like Billy Baker's coming up the road, like I did everything wrong, like planting stuff on the grass, telling people where to park, like I had to get beat up at the snowshoe to like understand something, like I'm grateful for all of it, and like so. You can learn to live here and learn to have a wonderful life here as I have, but like you gotta learn, and like you can only learn so much in a weekend. And if you're here for a weekend, you're really just a load on the town. And it's not just the housing stock, it's like as the roads are bad, like what happens if a windstorm comes through and like 10,000 trees get knocked down and we have a road crew of 3 guys? It's like, luckily currently in town, and I've been taught this, like people took time out of their day to teach me how to use a chainsaw, how to like hook up a chain to your truck, move it just enough, and I mean, it's gonna have to get fixed by the road crew, but so someone can get by. And like, if you're a local, you can do that, and if you're here for the weekend, you can't. And if you're trying to rent your house, you can take a picture of it and complain that people can't get to your house, and now your business model's all screwed up. But like, it's not by chance that like this place wasn't packed. Like the Von Trapps kept moving because I think they were like, like this place is harsh, like, you know, and they went someplace else. And what made it wonderful was that like it was really harsh and people counted on one another, and it's not like my family's like, you're nuts, you're still there. Like and I don't know, it can be a really hard place to live, but it's a beautiful place to live. And like I don't think it's a conducive place to short-term rentals. Like I ran my house as a short-term rental. I can tell you that there's big weeks where you make a lot of money, And then there's weeks that I remember, like one time there was a weird week someone rented, and I was like, oh, nice. And then I came back and some things were off. And it turned out that they had used my house to make meth.
Oh.
And like, I called Airbnb, and Airbnb was like, are you gonna report that? Insurance doesn't cover it, and it's gonna be over $500,000. I was like, well, let me think. And they're like, oh, and you can't rent it till you get it cleaned. It's gonna come out of your pocket. Are you gonna report that? Did it happen? I was like, maybe I was wrong. So I called a friend of mine who on the West Coast who's sort of into that kind of thing. And I was like, I think these people made meth. He told me some tests to do. I had to clean them up. I cleaned it up. I live in the house, like I'm comfortable with it, like, you know. But I don't know. It's like stuff like that can happen, and like just in the world of like, if this town's talking about having a sewer, the things I want to write a book called The Things They Flushed. And like the things that people in a short-term rental flush down the toilet, I was like the things we found in my septic, I'd be like, oh my God, well, what do they care?
Yeah.
Well, the problem is if you're on the same grind, if their grinder pump goes and they take out the sewer, like all of a sudden, not only are they annoying, but you don't have a bathroom. Because if somebody like in New York was trying to make money so they could pay a mortgage, and in case they wanted to have a house in Vermont, the whole thing was going to take care of itself. And like, I'm like, oh, dude, that is like, that's bad news. You don't like, and those grinder pumps, they sell like these, they say they're flushable, those wipies. And I called and talked to the guy from Tanner and Hoyle. And I was like, how does the grinder pump do this? He's like, oh, they break. They can't do the wipes. And they say disposable on the thing, and like, I used to work for Outward Bound, and kids would bring them and try to have like baths with them, and they would always break our septic. So I know like a little bit about the thing, but it, I don't know. I mean, the situation, it could get shitty.
Yeah.
So, and like, yeah, I think there's something like, honestly, this place, as harsh as it is, and as like, as rough as it can be, and like, and you know, like, when this storm hit and it got hard again, and like when the roads are bad, it's like, people still care for one another. And like, without that, even if you have a house, I don't know if you could live here. I don't know, I can't. I couldn't. So, without the people, Montgomery's not a bunch of property, it's a bunch of people. And like, yeah, if some out-of-state investors want to make some money and like destroy, I think the greatest thing in America, you know, well, I guess it's their right. But it was just, I really applaud these people for trying to find a way to sell.
Yeah.
And more like just casual things. I did look at the previous town plan when I moved up here, and one of the things that was important to me was that like growing up in New York City, you have like so many, like you're sealing someone else's floor, like everything is shared, and I hated it, like because I keep weird hours, and it's like you know, like people complain you can't vacuum after 4 o'clock, and it's like, and I understand why, but I was like, man, I'm getting the hell out of the city, and I'm going someplace where I have property like boundaries, and no one can tell me what to do. And like I used to have a bumper sticker on my car and said, how did our oil get under their land? And I might get one that says, how did their septic get under my property? And it's like, I came up here and I read the plan and it said that people were responsible for maintaining their septics. And like I bought Red X, and like, you do have to do a lot, and like, to keep your septic going, but I've done it. I've dug the things out people flush down it, and it's totally manageable. But it's like, I don't know, but sorry, I got off the track there. I was talking about the septics. Anyway, the rest of it, I guess, is sort of little different things. I would under the transportation thing, I think that it would be really beneficial to talk about like the one thing I've noticed that town that doesn't do anymore is clean the culverts out, and I just think that was a really good activity for like I think that was something that maybe because the person who did the roads was on the fire department, they had like a special pump. I don't know about it, but that's something. A lot of it's just like stuff like that. I could probably talk to people on the committee about. Yeah. Oh, sorry. The septic thing was like, so. But if we can we but in the old plan it said that you had to maintain your septic inlet. Like I guess when when a plan's a plan, I get it. Sometimes you deviate from it, but like we seem to deviate off the septic plan, and then it said people, the businesses downtown were responsible for having a septic, and then all of a sudden, like when they didn't, there was a vote taken, and then they decided to build a sewer. And so we changed from the plan. It's like so I don't know the accountability of like staying with the plan, in terms of the town plan. That's like the one thing I don't understand. Like I don't think it should be like, nope. But like I also think that there should be some process to changing a document that people have put like an awful lot of work into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's I guess what I can butt it out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jimbo. And I do want you to write that book, The Things They Flushed.
Yeah.
So Jimbo, you did bring up an interesting point, and that is that when you think about the town plan, it's not meant to just sit. It's not meant to just shit on a shelf. Sit on a shelf, right? And so, just by way of just information, like the next step in this is going to be doing the zoning bylaw revisions, and so it is legally incredibly important that our town plan and our zoning bylaws align well, because if they don't, that's when things go way off the rails. And as an example, Fairfield is having a really hard time right now because they have a housing development which their zoning bylaws could currently support, but their town plan is adversely opposed to. And so they're in a situation now where they have two documents that conflict with each other that legally have to govern kind of how one runs the other. So the town plan sets the vision, puts up the guardrails, sets the table. The zoning bylaws get into the nuts and bolts of how do we achieve that. So I just wanted to kind of put a fine point on that, because when we think about something like short-term rentals, in the town plan itself, we're not going to be able to articulate the 10-point plan to do this. It's going to be in the ordinance that we pass, or it's going to be in the zoning bylaws, but the town plan is what informs that vision. And so just to be clear, that's kind of what we're talking about now. So thank you, Jimbo. I'm going to go to the Zoom, and Pat, if you're still with us and you want to hop on and provide any comments or anything on the town plan, by all means, the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you, Charlie. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you okay, yep.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your time, and obviously I'm still reviewing the draft plan. It looks phenomenal. You guys did a hell of a good job, so I'm coming in to the planning commission pretty easily here, so I have a late lift, but yeah, I don't really have any comments. Obviously, short-term rentals are, like Peter said, the elephant in the room, kind of. But I know, I have a cousin that lives in Telluride, and they have dealt with this for the past 10 years, and I think we may be able to learn from other ski communities that have, dealt with this before. So anyway, good plan, good start, and thanks for your time.
All right, thanks, Pat. Emily, if you've got anything that you want to add or questions of the commission, by all means, feel free to hop off mute and jump in.
I don't have any questions at this current moment.
Okay, how about Penny? Does she have any?
She wants to know if you're going to be at work this Friday so she can say hi.
I will be, so tell her I'll say hi then. All right. Great, thank you. Leanne, anything that's on your brain or questions from review or from tonight's discussion?
No, my concern is the short-term rentals as well, so.
Okay. All right, I had a few questions, and Emily, well, we've got you for a few more minutes. One question I had was, when we look at the village center designations, specifically we're looking at like chapter 7, some of the policies there. Yes. I think the language in there is great. My question is, given what's coming down in the legislature around a lot of the area designations, I know that we're going to kind of wait to move formally on that, but is there anything in the town plan language-wise that could become a stumbling block with the potential changes in area designation that you see?
I don't think so at this point. I can come up so that people on Zoom can hear me, but at this point, it's a little bit up in the air what those are going to look like, but I think that anything the proposal, at least that we started legislative session was would put it in the hands of the regional planning commission's mapping efforts, and we would certainly like go to the communities that have village center designations already as the starting point for that. So I can't, with a crystal ball, say exactly where it will end up, but.
Okay, but you think as written, the language is broad enough that it wouldn't box us into not being able to go after a new designation should they create one. So for example, if they come up with like the tier 1A, 1B status, but it's not called village or downtown development, like that kind of
Yeah.
stuff, we're okay. Like,
I think so. I also think you're looking at just process-wise. If you end up changing your zoning map, at that point, my recommendation would be to go back and amend the town plan with a new zoning map as well,
Okay.
just to keep everything consistent. So at that time, we would probably know pretty well anything about the state designation, and we could include that as part of that process as well.
okay, great. Yeah, I think language-wise it looks fine. My only kind of red flag was around if they changed anything that would then, yeah, create a stumbling block going forward. But it sounds like that's not an issue.
Yeah, I don't anticipate it being an issue.
Yeah.
From what we have so far.
Okay. Did you have a question on this, Jimbo?
No, but could I double dip when y'all are done?
Yeah, sure. Give me 1 second. So, okay, that sounds great. The other kind of just, I had a few just textual edits. None of these are really major. A couple things like in the history of flooding, I think the Halloween storm of 2019 might have been left out. I have a note on that I can get you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, the rest of the notes I had were not substantial by any means. It was just tweaking the name of something. I think the only substantial conversations or notes that I had was on the short-term rentals. There is some language around class 3 road upgrades. I think the language as it's written in the plan is okay, because it talks about developing policy. We do have one in place. Some language tweaks might be in order to kind of clarify a few things there, but that was something that had been brought up by some people. But I think the language that's in there, my main thing is in the plan. Any place where there's like a definitive do not do, or like there's no room for interpretation. We want to be absolutely sure that's what we want, because again, my concern is that we move into zoning and then something comes up and we're like, well, we can't do that because the plan says like thou shalt not X. So but yeah, I think the rest of the stuff I had were relatively minor textual edits. The one question, and thanks for addressing it, was more the area designation.
Yes,
so
no problem.
thank you.
Charlie?
Yes, Peter.
Baptist Church is a nationally registered historic building.
Yep, that's on the list here. Yep. All right, so we have gone through everybody. So at this point, if anyone wants to speak again, we'll give folks a couple minutes. Jimbo, fire away.
Yeah, I'll just be quick and less emotional. So, the plan's great. The one thing that I didn't see in there, and maybe I had the wrong copy, was their ATVs were mentioned.
Yep.
And like the town had a long history of and some things are better off not being spoken about. And like I'm hesitant to bring like the way ATVs in this town. I always understood works like we don't really talk about them, and maybe they went on the roads, and then side by sides came, and like they were long trains of them, and people didn't like them. But like this town has and the vote wasn't like totally one sided on ATVs. It was, I remember being somewhat close, and it seems like people keep butting into problems of like. If the ATVs don't have a place to go, and you read the town plan and they're not mentioned in the town plan, and those folks are people who grew up here, like I could imagine feeling a little left out. I know some feel a little left out. And it hasn't like, and it's a sad spiral, but I've watched their behavior sort of get worse. But it's like, I get that. And I just think if, that's a product of feeling like, well, they're like, we're gonna do, the town has no plan for us. Apparently their plan is to get rid of us. And so at that point in time, it's like, why pick up your beer can? Why pick up your soda can? Why, pick up whatever it is? But so I think that could be, if there was a place for ATVs mentioned, those are people who like, I've even tried to get people to come to, when I was coming to the meetings, but they're like, we're not even mentioned in there, like, And I think that would be a really good way to open the door on a conversation which has begun, so I guess we should finish it. But yeah, I think that if we had a spot for ATVs, I know a lot of people will struggle with ATVs getting on their property. And maybe if the ATVs formally had a spot in the town, and then, which is referenced in the town plan, they would feel better and have a place to go ATVing.
Okay, thanks, Jimbo. Peter, yeah.
I neglected during my first sitting to mention that the DRB had intended to show up tonight, John Karlowski and Parma. I'm not sure what held them back, but the point of their attendance was to indicate how much of the applications for change of use are being applied toward short-term rental. That trend, on top of a trend that we see in real estate where homes are coming on the market with 6 people online, driving prices up, and never being occupied, being immediately rented after approvals, is part of the problem of withdrawing available housing. So I hesitate to speak for the DRB, but I'm sharing what they've shared with me.
Okay, appreciate it.
Yep.
Anyone else? All right, well, if that, oh, Pat, yeah.
It's all right. This has got nothing to do with the planning, but I just would like you to pass on my thanks to the road crew.
Will do.
For what they've done in the last few days.
Okay.
They've done a terrific job.
Great, well, appreciate it, and we will let them know. Thank you, Pat. All right, well, if there's no other comment on the plan, yep, okay, Joe, yep.
I got a comment as a citizen with a child in school in the first grade. And I don't think, in retrospect, that the town plan integrates in a powerful way how important the school to a town is. Without pounding short-term rentals again, there's other issues also about the aging of our whole state, and the idea, the prospect of a lot of towns our size losing their schools. I don't know exactly how to approach that, but it's a statewide issue, and it's also good. I don't know who your attorney is now, but often if we need legal help, it's good to have a really sharp attorney who's up to date. And needless to say, the schools and what's going on to schools, short-term rentals, and the aging of the state are all 3 things. I just ended a 10-year gig writing columns about aging in Vermont. Frankly, I get sick of it. I mean, it's my own colleagues and stuff, but frankly, there are too many of us and too few young people. And we should do everything we can to get some youth in this state, because the youth always have the power and the drive to change things. Old people are often just protecting what we have. C'est la vie.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Okay, so thank you everybody who participated tonight and provided comment. Leanne and Emily, I guess feel free to weigh in here. My gut would be, it sounds like there's a number of edits that we do want to make to the plan. Whether or not some of these count as being substantial or not, I guess I'm on the fence about, especially with some of the things that we might want to look at about school language. Is there a place for ATVs? And the fact that we don't have 2 board members here. My gut is to not adopt anything formally this evening, but circulate the notes from tonight's meeting, draft a punch list of edits, I guess, just so we can all look at them in one place.
Yeah.
We can circulate those out in public consumption too, and then formally adopt the plan at a next warned meeting. Does that sound okay to everybody?
Okay, that's next Monday.
Well, so again, with this, the deadlines for warning things are a little bit longer with a town plan.
Okay.
So
So,
are you saying a second hearing?
well, I think, because I asked Emily when she came in what we need to do as far as adoptions, and it sounds like it's kind of a gray area. If it's strictly little textual things like the Oxford comma, like we could just do that at a select board meeting, but it sounds like if there's any substantive textual edits to be done, they need to happen at a warned hearing. And my gut is always going to be to like defer to the extra level of caution around that so that we don't do anything that someone can come back and be like, hey, you didn't follow that because this isn't that. So I think we've still got time to adopt this before we need to move into the zoning bylaw work. We don't have any pending like area designation applications in front of us, so there's nothing that we need in an approved plan that's holding us back. So I think we have time. So my gut would be to circulate these notes, get the buy-in or at least have the other two members in on the conversation, and then do the adoption at that meeting, if that's okay.
Yeah, makes sense to me.
Okay, Emily, does that sound okay to you?
When does this?
That sounds fine to me.
It expired February 15th.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's already.
Then it was right before the last hearing that
Yeah.
couldn't happen.
So there's some things legally that we can't do without the town plan in place. So for example, we couldn't file an updated area designation application to renew our village center without the town plan, but we're waiting to do that anyway because of the changes that are coming through the legislature that are gonna be at least a few more months away. So at this point, if we were to warn another hearing even 3 weeks from now to do the final adoption, I don't think that puts us at any risk of.
And are there any big grants coming up for any like committees in town or anything in town that a current town plan would help them get the grant for, do you know, or everybody's?
I don't believe so, but we will try to do this as expeditiously as possible. Because I do know that the area designation stuff we do want to move into, and our current ones aren't expiring, so it's not like we're going to lose the area designation. That's the big thing would be if we were to lose our village center designation, because that affects funding, eligibility for things. But for now, I think we're okay there. So if that sounds good, we'll move that. So we will do a scheduling poll among the board members to make sure everyone can be here, and we'll cross our fingers it's on a night where we don't have a snowstorm again.
Charlie,
Yes.
with what you've read in the draft and what you've heard tonight at the hearing, do you anticipate or can you identify any substantive changes? I guess the only text change that I could see, and this is me speaking personally, not as like, just is with the chapter 5 goal language around STRs, I still wonder if there's a way I like to write things in a positive way, like we want to achieve this is our positive vision, and as written, just the phrase discourage short-term rentals. I'm not saying it's not something we're going to adopt or can adopt. I just wonder, is there a way that we can, instead of saying we want to discourage short-term rentals, it's we want to provide affordable housing stock for all whatever levels of our community while finding a balance between X, Y, Z. And my brain hasn't gotten to like what that language is yet. What do you object to with the word discourage?
It's more just like I personally like to write stuff like this in a positive, like here's what we're trying to do and achieve. I just finding one thing and calling it out negatively, it doesn't sit great with me. Specifically because we're all part of a community, and again, I want to craft like a positive vision to get to something, and if there's a way to do it without singling out one thing negatively, I'd like to. Now that being
Without changing the meaning.
without changing the meaning, yeah. Because I think based on the discussion here tonight, I think the vision is clear and the need is clear. My only question is like, is there a way that we can articulate that which frames it in the positive and not the negative? But again, getting back to...
Sometimes it's necessary though to identify the negative.
I agree, yeah. And so that's just me personally, my brain is not fully wrapped around that yet. Now that being said, if we had a full board here and the full board was ready to adopt this tonight, I don't think I would stand in the way of that.
Any possibility of your next meeting? Because that doesn't seem like it would require an awful lot of discussion among your full board.
It could, yeah. Let me circulate these notes. We'll warn this as a point of discussion, and I'll try to get a little bit better clarity from Emily and Greta in terms of like, here's the list of stuff we're doing. Is this substantive?
Right.
And then have them come back and say, no, it's not. You can do that at the meeting versus kick it to a hearing. So, yeah. So if it's not substantive, we will review. Regardless, we'll review the list of stuff at the next meeting, just so that we can be on the record of here are the edits that we all think are the ones we're looking at. Is everybody in consensus about this? And then we can make the call based on regional planning's feedback. Is this substantive, or do we need to push this to another hearing?
And if it's not, you would be willing to take a vote at the next select board meeting?
Yeah, no, I mean, I want to just get this done.
Sure you do.
Yeah. But like I said, I want to make sure that whatever we do holds up down the line so that no one can come back. So what I will do is take the list of edits that we're looking at right now. We'll circulate them to the board to make sure it's captured everything. We'll get them to regional planning. We'll review them Monday, and if regional planning signs off as it not being substantive, then we'll do it. That sound good to everybody?
That sounds good.
Yes.
Okay.
Is there anything major that stuck out for you, Leanne, or?
No, I just want to make sure that the short-term rental is super clear, because I really do feel that we have enough, and we really need to be very mindful of affording housing for Jenny and other people who are looking for a place to live for, forever, let's say, and it's just not here.
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
Awesome. Well, with that, we will. Oh, Suzanne, hi. Sorry, I didn't see you there.
Hi, I'm so sorry I'm this late.
No, it's okay. Did you catch that last part of the conversation around next steps?
Yeah, I was trying to just pull up the minutes to see where you guys are, like what sort of notes have been taken so far, so I could catch up real quick.
Okay. Well, I will send you a copy of the notes with the text changes. I'll circulate them to the whole board, so that way you can take them and review them. And then, like I said, what we'll do is we'll take them up Monday, and then if we can act to adopt, we will. If not, we'll push it to another formally warned hearing.
Okay.
All right. Well, with that, then I guess we would need actually, it's not a formal, is this a formal select board meeting, or is it just a hearing? So can we just adjourn the hearing?
I think it's just a hearing.
All right, then we will adjourn the hearing at 7:11 p.m. and the hearing is now closed. So thank you, everyone.